Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadvaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantamanapeta Apeta Kritam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Puteti Tan Maitaya Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarvabhutam Vidayam Unimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we always begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus. Unto Sri Guru Pada Padmaniti Leda Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmaniti Leda Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj under our exalted Rupa Nuguguru Varga. Also today, because this is the appearance day of the dear godbrother of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and simultaneously the disappearance day of Srila Narayana Maharaj. So this morning we had a very nice katha. We heard from a beautiful article about what it means, how the devotee meditates and contemplates on the day of the disappearance of his guru. And it's very esoteric. There's going to be a lot of subject matters here that I'm going to talk about that you're probably not so familiar with, but they're very beneficial to hear. Very beneficial to hear. Some of you have heard this before. But the appearance and disappearance days of Sri Guru hold special significance in the minds and hearts of the devotee, because as we were previous to the Artik, we were singing songs written by our previous acharyas about Guru Tattva, about the role of Guru, about our dependence on Guru, what gifts Guru gives to the conditioned living entities, the ambassador of Bhagavan, of God himself, coming to uplift and enlighten us and to take us back to the spiritual realm. But they come into our life only briefly, for some years, and then they go back to the spiritual world, on to another place, another universe, another planet to preach again. And then we as disciples are left with a mood of bereavement, a mood of separation. And in the morning class, we heard Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj speaking about that. And he said that it's very important on this day, on the disappearance of Sri Guru, to meditate on one's relationship and to contemplate, what have I gotten from my Guru? What has my Guru given to me? What have I taken? What is my relationship? Right? And for one who has a deep, affectionate, loving relationship of service to Sri Guru, many, many emotions will come into the heart. Right? Remembrances of Guru's kindness, of teachings, of pastimes, right? But he said also, the feelings of affection, the feelings of sadness will come to the degree to which we actually served our Guru and are continuing to serve. The relationship to Guru is not one of formality only. It's one of deep emotional connection. And that emotional connection is demonstrated in the quality of service that we do. Not just the physical part, but the emotional part as well. Because bhakti, loving devotion to the Lord and to all the perfected souls, the devotees of the Lord, is realized in two ways. It's exhibited and realized in two ways. One is the activity itself, which is called cheshta, and the other is the mood in which the activity is performed. And we have simple examples of that, right? Say you're sitting down for a meal, right? And it's your dear mother who's made it and serving it, right? And she's serving it with such love and affection. Well, most times, right? Maybe not every time, but you know. But it's when mother's cooking, at least when the kids are young, maybe when they get older, get a little tired of it. But that's this world. But in any case, we know that for most people, they have fond remembrances of their mother's cooking because she cooked with love. She's thinking, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to nourish my child? What is my child like? What do they want to eat, right? And that all goes into it. And that goes into the taste, the flavor of the food. So there's the activity of cooking the food, but then there's the mentality that goes into it. But if somebody's cooking with resentment and aggravation, that also goes into it. So you go to some, diner or some fast food place where they hate everybody and they don't like you, and they got attitude and they just sling it at you and you eat it and you get indigestion. There's no love there, right? No love. So gurus come to teach us love, and not just the limited love of this world. But where does that love come from? Where does what we experience as a love, we only experience a vitiated or a marginalized expression of it. Because inherent in the soul, the dormant propensity in every soul, and we are all souls, individual jiva souls, is the quality of love for God. But for those of us in the material world, it's covered over. It's covered over by this entire material energy, and we're individually covered with a body, gross body, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and a subtle body, a mind, an intelligence, and a false ego. And that false ego causes us to identify with this body, and our thought is the pleasure and success in this life is based on the pleasure of this body, and those things connected with the body. So those things connected with the body, like friends, like relatives, husband, wife, dog, cat, whatever it is, that's how we experience and taste love. But that's a very limited expression because the body is very limited and because it ultimately doesn't awaken the soul's connection with the unlimited source of love, who is Bhagavan himself, right? Radha and Krishna. Sri Krishna, the supreme male, Sri Radhika, the supreme female, combined together, they are the complete and perfect expression of love. And our relationship eternally is with them. So Guru comes as a very dear associate of Radha and Krishna to teach us that and to awaken that. And so what Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj was saying, that during his time with this, Guru is teaching us to awaken that love, to uncover the sense that I'm this body, the obstacles that go along with it, the attachments to all these temporary things of this world. Sometimes when people hear us talking about the foolishnesses of attachment to the world, it sounds cruel, right? Or it sounds harsh. Why are you speaking so badly about people and the love of this world? Well, I'm not speaking badly. I'm just saying that whatever you're attached to right now, however dear and near it appears to you, in a very short time, you have to give it all up. In 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, every attachment we've ever had, lifetime after lifetime, we've had to give up. No matter how perfect and wonderful they were in this life, we had to give them up. You have so many friends, so many relatives, so many mothers, so many fathers, so many children. You've forgotten them all. right? So everything that we have in this world, even in this life, what do you remember when you were, 5, 10 years old, So many of the associates and friends you've moved on, they've forgotten you, you've forgotten them, you know. I can't even remember how many I've forgotten, The older you get, the more you can't remember what you forgot. Anyway, so, and that's what happens. I have a very dear sister, God sister, who her husband was a very nice guy. And he left this world somewhat early. And she went to Srila Narayana Maharaj and she said, I just can't forget about him. I can't give him up. And he said, he's forgotten completely about you. And I didn't say it in a cruel way. He just said that, he's forgotten you. You can also move on. You have permission, right? But you're not doing this in a harsh, terrible way. You're actually moving towards the real object of your love, which is God, Bhagavan. And by loving God, you automatically love everything associated with him. All the love that you've ever had for any friends, relatives, children, and all, it becomes perfected and fully realized when you connect with the source of all of us. God is living within the heart of every living entity. He's the source of all of us. When we love him, we're doing the best for everybody else. So we should take comfort in that. We're not giving anything up. So Guru comes to teach us. And Bhakti-Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj was saying that to the degree that we served him, to the degree of the selflessness and love that we had cultivated, to that degree we'll feel separation on the day of the disappearance of Sri Guru. And these days are meant to invoke in us a remembrance, special remembrance of Guru, his kindness, his teachings, really his manobhishta, right? What was most dear to him. And of course, what's most dear to every self-realized soul is love of God and how to bring people to it. And each of them have a special way of connecting and teaching, right? And so in that, we remember the various incidents, the nature of the personality, the nature of our dealings with him. But then there's something else in this disappearance pastime, in the meeting and disappearance. Because in our relationship with Guru is a kind of a mirror image of our relationship with God. Because Guru, as the ambassador to Bhagavan, to God, is as good as God. So we worship him as like the personality of God. He's the supreme servitor Godhead. He never takes the role of God himself, but he accepts the role like an ambassador. Like an ambassador goes to a foreign country, and in that embassy, it's considered to be like the United States. The ambassador, he speaks for the entire United States. He's not the president, but he's seen like that. He communicates perfectly what it is the president wants. So Guru is like that, right? And Guru is so empowered, Sakshad Hari Tve Na Samasta Shastrir Uktastatabhav Yata Eva Sabdi, that he is fully empowered by God himself. Sakshad Hari. He can be considered as good as God. And he has all the power. He's invested with all the power. And our relationship with him is to help us to understand our relationship with Radha and Krishna. So herein comes the mystery. When we meet Guru and we, by our interaction and by service to Guru, we develop a special kind of affection. We begin to develop love. We begin to understand our spiritual nature. We develop so much attachment to him, so much dependency, so much love, becomes our most near and dear friend. And then he disappears. He leaves this world. And then we think, now we're bereft. We have no guide. We have no connection. Where are we now? So there's a special secret and purpose in this disappearance pastime. And it relates to the nature of love. In this world, love depends on presence and meeting. When there's separation, love diminishes, right? They have a saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but usually in this world, absence makes people look for somebody else. You know, if you're absent from your husband or your wife, like sports people or movie star people always traveling, they oftentimes fall victim to hooking up to somebody else because they're not close to the person they love. They have other opportunities, right? But prem, the nature of spiritual love, has a special quality that it's incredibly intense in meeting, and when there's separation, the thoughts, the memories, the recollections, spiritual memories, spiritual recollections are so powerful that they're actually non-different from meeting. And actually, in some ways, they can be superior because we're talking about transcendental energy here. That the name of Krishna, the name of God, I heard this for 50 years, and when I was young, I couldn't comprehend the idea at all. The name of God is non-different from God. The pastimes of God are non-different from God. It seemed like such an abstract philosophical idea. Couldn't grasp it. But years and years of doing this practice in bhajan, the reality of that is becoming more clear. That thoughts of Krishna, hearing about Krishna, memorizing stories about Krishna, chanting Krishna's name, actually you begin to connect with him in a real and genuine way. And that's only in the stage of practice. What to speak of self-realized souls, everything that they do is purely spiritual. Every name they utter is Shabda Brahman, perfectly spiritual, transcendental sound vibration. When they chant the name of Krishna, when they talk about Krishna's pastimes, they're living them, they're seeing them, they're experiencing them. In their heart, Krishna is with them. Sometimes more powerfully than when he's with them personally. So, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, this is a compilation of lectures on this principle. So, I'm going to read some of this here. This is just kind of like forward to set the stage so that we understand. Now he's going to talk about the principle of separation. How does that fit into divine love? Sri Bhagavan is the possessor of all potencies, and therefore his relationship with his internal potency is indestructible. Shakti Shakti Matur Abedha. His internal potency means his spiritual energy. Krishna is God, Radha is his spiritual energy, his eternal consort. They are inseparable, they are one. Still, his pastime potency, because his potency, his energies, take different forms. Radhika manifests in different ways. So the pastime potency, which makes the impossible possible, manifests separation, viraha, even in eternal meeting. Its purpose is to arouse astonishing varieties of rasa, rasa vaichitra. This is one of the unprecedented stages of prem. These are technical words. Maybe you're not familiar with them. Viraha means separation, but it also means special kind of meeting. And so the idea, he's saying, of separation here is to increase rasa. Rasa is the combination of activity, exchanges of love between the lover and the beloved, and all the varieties of spiritual emotion that they experience in that transcendental environment. That is rasa. And prem is the experience itself. The first sprout of the wish-fulfilling tree of prem in this world was Srila Madhavendra Puripad. He sang an unparalleled verse in his state of perfection. And this is a statement from the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Madhavendra Puri is speaking in the mood of Srimati Radhika. Ai dina dayardra nata he mathura nata kavada lokshaye hridayam tvadaloka kataram dayita brahmyati kim karomyaham. O Master, whose heart melts in compassion for the destitute. O Lord of Mathura, when will I see you again? O beloved Lord of my life, I fervently hanker to see you, so much so that my heart has become intensely restless. What should I do now? This is a little verse filled with spiritual longing. It's the original mood of Srimati Radhika after Krishna left for Mathura, right? And Madhavendra Puri revealed that feeling in this verse, and he was the first one to teach about this, that this highest state of love of God is experienced in this separation. It said this verse was originally manifested by Srimati Radhika in the agony of her separation from Sri Krishna when he went to Mathura. Thus, Madhavendra Puripad planted in this world the seed of devotion in the conjugal sentiment. This shloka is the outpouring of Srimati Radhika's Mahaprem, Mahabhav, after Krishna left for Mathura. Bhajan, performed following Srimati Radhika's mood in this condition, constitutes the topmost bhajan. It's a pretty heavy introduction to a lecture, but this was the gift that Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj came to give. Our predecessor acharyas, they gave all this, especially the six Goswamis, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They wrote about all these things. But in the modern world, in the modern Western world, since Bhaktivinoda Thakur has come, the necessity has been to introduce these concepts gradually because of the lack of capacity or foundation in spiritual teachings of the modern world. We just don't have all this. So our Srila Prabhupada taught so much, gave so many books to the world about all of this, including very advanced books like Chaitanya Charitamrita. But so many of the deeper teachings he hid within his purports. They were there, but kind of like a treasure chest with the lid there, and you need a key. And the key is the further explanations of qualified self-realized souls, which that was one of the gifts of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, to show what Srila Prabhupada, what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur really came to give us. He's unpacking it here. So, he's going to explain why separation is essential for us. Right? For the practitioner of bhakti, it is natural to perform bhajan in a mood of separation from Krishna. The devotees of Shringar Ras, that's like the mood of the gopis, feeling themselves to be the most destitute, call out fervently to Dina Dayadranath, Krishna, the Lord of the destitute. Only 3 persons could taste the essence of this verse. Srimati Radhika herself, Srila Madhavendra Puri, and Sriman Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna with the sentiments of Srimati Radhika. So, to manifest this shloka, Sri Madhavendra Puri, an eternal follower of Sri Radha, has imbibed the emotions of Mathura Virahini Sri Radha. In other words, Radha feeling this great separation. And Mahaprabhu wrote a shloka about that separation. Yugayatam nimishena chakshusha pravashayatam shunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda vidahename. Oh, he's speaking Osaki to one of his friends in this internal mood. In separation from Govinda, even a moment seems like a millennium. Tears pour from my eyes like torrents of rain in the monsoon season, and this entire world seems void. So these are the internal sentiments of great devotee. This is not our sentiment. We're not on that level yet. We're sadhaks. These are highly advanced devotees. They're able to feel the separation that Radhika is feeling from Krishna. They're feeling from Krishna. We're not there yet. But he's saying that separation is necessary to nourish the development of love. Because in separation, the yearning to be with Krishna increases more and more and more, that hankering. And when you desire to be with Krishna more and more, Krishna reciprocates. He's feeling that same hankering. He wants to be with that devotee more and more and more, right? Ye yatam mam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyaham. As they feel and desire for me, I reciprocate with them. Right? So, this is how the great devotees, but we don't have that. So how do we cultivate that? We cultivate that through our relationship with Sri Guru, who is appearing instead of Krishna, in Krishna's stead, in his place. And so when we develop love and affection and Guru disappears, awakening of these kind of purified feelings of separation. That's what it's all about. That's what this day is invoking. And so he quotes more verses like this. He quotes Vilap Kushmanjali. This is a very esoteric book. It's up here. We just completed reading that by Raghunath Das. And he's speaking to Radhika, and he says to beautiful Radha, I am passing my time with the sole hope of being able to serve you. If you withhold your mercy, what value to me are this life and the land of Vraj and Sri Krishna, the enemy of Baka? So here's something special. This is another speciality of Srila Narayana Maharaj. He taught us something very esoteric. When we talk about who is our Ishtadev, who is the object of our love, our ultimate object of affection, generally most people say Krishna, right? Krishna. That's true. But for a select group of devotees of Krishna, who are not less devoted to Krishna, they identify with Srimati Radharani, the supreme goddess, as their ultimate object of affection. See? Sometimes people they call Vaishnavas, this is another patriarchal religion where God is a male and everybody has to serve him, and this reflects in our society and results in so much abuse of men against women. Well, it's nothing like that because in our conception, the quality of the devotee, topmost quality of the devotee is love and compassion. There's no sense of exploitation there. Women are not exploited, children are not exploited, old people are not exploited. Everyone is given compassion and love when Krishna is the supreme object, because everyone sees Krishna as the father of all, the source of all. But there's a secret kind of worship, because who is Krishna's most beloved? Srimati Radhika, his eternal goddess. We worship the supreme male and we worship the supreme female. He is God, she is the complete Shakti, the complete energy, the cause, the energizing cause of everything, right? He desires, she fulfills. And this is how love is exchanged. But Radhika is that person who can most perfectly satisfy Krishna. So if you want to make Krishna happy, if you want to enter into that mood of perfect, selfless service, there's so many relationships you can take. You can be a friend, like a cowherd boy, or you can be a parent, you can be a parrot, a deer in the woods, you could be a tree, you could be all these things, fully conscious and serving Krishna in so many wonderful ways. But the topmost servants are the Brajadevis, the beautiful gopis of Vrindavan. And their relationship with Krishna is so extraordinary because even though it appears that their whole life is based only on serving Krishna, which indeed it is, and they have no self-interest and no desire even for their own happiness, but the other side of that is that because their love is so pure, so selfless, so intense, Krishna becomes absolutely controlled and captivated by that love. And his whole point and his whole purpose is to make them happy. And even above and beyond his own happiness. So he's trying to sacrifice his own happiness for them. They're sacrificing everything for him. And in this way, they're all enjoying the greatest happiness. Right? So those in our line, we are wanting to become servants of Srimati Radhika, the supreme goddess, and then assist her in her service to Krishna. And in this way, in our line, our Gurudev is the identical manifestation, you could say of Krishna, but more of Srimati Vrishabhanu Nandini, the crest jewel of Ashraya Tattva, the abode of love for Krishna, Srimati Radharani. Sri Gurudev expertly adopts the means devised by the Sakis for the serving the divine couple in their transcendental love-laden pastimes. For this reason, he is extremely dear to Sri Radha and Krishna. How will one receive the mercy of Sri Krishna if he is not receiving the mercy of a guru on this level? Therefore, those who remain under the shelter of Sri Guru will experience intense waves of separation from him when he is no longer manifest, and whose waves will surely increase to their utmost magnitude. Because out of compassion, Bhagavan, in the form of Sri Guru, Sri Bhagavan, in the form of Sri Guru, expands his manifest pastimes. In other words, the pastimes of a transcendental guru are like the pastimes of Krishna. In the same way, Sri Guru enacts a pastime of disappearing from this world to enter his eternal pastimes. His sole purpose in doing so is to stimulate the full service and full possessiveness of his dependents. So he's saying here that he's comparing Radha Krishna Leela. It's stimulated. Sometimes they meet, sometimes they're in separation. In both those states, their service and their love is increasing, but they're interdependent. Without separation, meeting stagnates. Without meeting, separation never finds fulfillment. They're two halves of the same thing. They're ever increasing in joy and pleasure. They nurture each other. And in the same way, for us to understand that transcendental prem, that kind of love, Guru comes, forms a bond, shows us so much, teaches us so much, and then goes into his eternal Leela and separates from our vision. And that, if we're sincere and we're serious, that creates a sense of anxiety and desperation to be with Guru again, right? And how do we do that? See, this fire, he says, of separation, it intensifies day by day. And in this way, bhajan, service, remains fresh, right? There are two kinds of bhajan, Gurudev says. First is performed by chanting and remembering, right? Pastimes of Krishna's separation from the gopis, gopi separation from Krishna, Vipralamba Leela, right? And the second is performed by remembering pastimes of meeting, when they come together joyfully. We read those pastimes in the 10th canto, so many like that. And they're so intricate and so subtle, so nuanced, how separation comes and expresses itself, how meeting expresses itself. The gopis and Brajbasis, they always prefer meeting with Krishna over separation, but the play of Vipralamba, separation, intensifies and makes the joy of that meeting so much more intense. And so for us, he says, practitioners, we have to cultivate the mood of separation by thinking, I'm not seeing Krishna, nor am I seeing Srimati Radhika, nor Braj. I'm not realizing anything, and I'm unable to serve my Gurudev. So this is a long, long lecture, so I'm not going to make it too long. And I gave you a lot of really intense, esoteric, nuanced conceptions here. But I'm going to break it down in a really simple way now. That Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj came to this world. He entered into this world in 1921, right? He was born of a very high-class family. High class in the sense, not wealthy family, but high class in terms of spiritual enrichment. High-class Brahmin family. And his father and mother, they were landowners and the chief members of this village, and they were respected everywhere for their great spirituality and their teachings. And every year they used to host large numbers of people, do big festivals. And his father was a big pundit, a big speaker, very respected, right? And he was raised in that environment very early on. In all Vedic literature, in especially the pastimes of Sri Ramachandra, Sita Ram, and from a very young age was manifested very extraordinary devotional sentiments. He was not like other children interested in just, frivolous games. He would go with his father and attend lectures that would go on all night, or plays and pastimes that would go on all night. He could sit there completely patient and completely attentive and enthralled by hearing these things. Even as a 5-year-old boy, could sit and listen to these very difficult lectures all night long, completely attentive. I can't do that now, So amazing child. And he was the joy of everyone. One of the qualities of a great devotee is because they're so much in love with God, they love everybody and everybody loves them. He was the most popular child, right? And different devotees, they will live different kinds of lives in order to set an example. Because in this world, it's not that everybody can immediately go into the forest and live and be a sadhu, right? No, you can't do that. Most people have to live ordinary lives, support families, do all these things. And so many of our acharyas will go through that stage of life to show how it's done, right? How to execute your worldly duties and at the same time still practice spirituality. And Srila Narayana Maharaj did that. He was very expert in school and education, but at a very young age had to get a job, after high school. And he became a policeman, which was a very high-class job at that time in India under the British Raj, only the most qualified. And he quickly assumed a very prominent position. Within a few short years, he was promoted once, twice, thrice, 4 times to positions that usually only the most experienced people with 20 or 30 years of experience got. And they sent him all over that part of Bihar and Bengal and Assam, wherever the most difficult cases were. He became very famous. Narayana Tiwari, the super cop. Here's super cop. But then he had the opportunity to meet the Vaishnavas, the associates of his Guru Maharaj, and he heard from them, and what did it do? It immediately awakened a very deep desire to take into this type of life full time. And so after a short time, he did. He resigned from his police work, and he left, and he went to Mathura to meet his Guru Maharaj. He had to do it secretly. It was Indian families are very close and very attached. And, he was supporting a family. He was the oldest child of a large family. Nobody wanted their child to leave, so he couldn't tell anybody where he went. He didn't even tell his guru that he was coming. And yet he arrived in Mathura, so this would have been about 1945, 1946. Back then there was no electricity or anything in those stations, and he just came, and in the dead of night, and he thought, I don't know where they live, I don't know where the mud is, but here I am. And then he heard a name calling out to him, hey, Tiwari, where are you? That was one of his names. And a guy with a sadhu with a lamp was calling out his name. He said, I'm Tiwari. And he says, oh, you're Narayana Tiwari? Yes. How did you know I was coming? Our guru, Bhakti-Bhagwan Keshava, he knew you were coming. I never wrote him. How did he know? Oh, he's omniscient. And the person that picked him up was Srila Vaman Maharaj. They weren't Maharajas yet. This was going to be a few years later. But they instantly bonded and became great friends, right? And also there was Trivikram Maharaj. He wasn't sannyasi yet. But the 3 of them became the principal sevaks of Bhakti-Bhagwan Keshava Maharaj. And Bhakti-Bhagwan Keshava Maharaj was a powerful preacher, one of the successors of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, very knowledgeable, deeply immersed in the moods of internal moods of service to Radha and Krishna, very rasik tattvagya Vaishnava, and friends, very good friends with my Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj and gave him sannyas, actually. They were so close. And so our Srila Narayana Maharaj, he met our Srila Prabhupada in 1946. He knew him from that time, right? And I could sit here for about all day and night and tell you stories, one after the other, of Srila Narayana Maharaj and all of these things, but I know we have a time limit here, People have to eat, have things to do. They say a hungry man's an angry man. And maybe I should have talked in a different way. Maybe I should have just told stories, But we started off this morning with such philosophical topics. I thought, oh, God, I don't know, I just got swept up in it. And really didn't even touch it. We just grazed over it a little bit. But even if you didn't understand it too much, don't worry. Because I was just reading the words compiled by a transcendental person. It's Shabda Brahman. And very deep seeds of bhakti are planted when you hear those kinds of words. And when you hear about the pastimes, their identity, or the glories of any of those persons, it plants a seed in your heart which stirs your own awakening and spirituality. And that is the purpose of these personalities. And I had the great fortune of first seeing Srila Narayana Maharaj in 1977 when I came from America to see the Samadhi ceremony of my Guru Maharaj. We went from Vrindavan, then we went to Mayapur, and he was also there, and somebody pointed him out to me. But then I saw him again in, I guess it was 20 years later, when he came to America. And he immediately was so kind to me, so affectionate, so encouraging, and so much represented my own Gurudev. I felt initially an immediate connection and sense that my Srila Prabhupada had sent this person to me to encourage me and to help me again revive my service mentality. So he would come to America every year, and I'd go to see him someplace or other. And then 5 years later said, oh, okay, I can't do this anymore, and went to India to be with him full time. And so that, and had many wonderful, wonderful experiences, even though not so many as many of the other devotees, because I wasn't able to travel with him. He made me go to Bangalore to somehow or other start a congregation, acquire land, and build a temple. And it was very difficult, but he said, you got to do it. So we did it. But I experienced something which is very important to understand in spiritual life. The connection with Guru is not based on physical closeness, physical proximity. It's based on hearing the order and the desire, the manabhishta of Guru, and taking it into your own heart and doing it. And if you do that, you are connected with Guru in the real way. And so I'm completely convinced that all those years, both when he was present and when he left, the connection was never broken, and I feel it stronger than ever, simply by following, deeply connecting, surrendering to the desire of Sri Guru and trying to make that your desire, your life. And on this day, this is what we're doing. We're showing our gratitude in whatever way we can to Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, to Bhaktivedanta Vama Goswami Maharaj. I guess we're going to have to talk for a few days about Gurudev in the morning class. Can't just leave it off with this one. They're completely inadequate. There are whole books about his pastimes. This Guru Darshan book we have, massive, incredible book. Others have written books as well. So, yeah, we'll do more. So we're going to do a little artik right now, where we sing a song to Gurudev, Sri Guru Charana Padma, and we'll offer flowers. We do that in the morning, but we're going to do it now so everybody can have an opportunity to do that. We need a picture on that altar there, right? Yeah, got a picture there. Yeah, take the one from the altar, because, Gurudev's still up there, no problem. And also, Srila Vamanaraj is on the far left, so I will stop this and stop this. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Vamrash, Gaur Premanande.